It all started on a chilly autumn evening, the kind of evening where the wind moans against the windows and the shadows seem to stretch a little longer than they should. We had just moved into a new apartment, a quiet place on the top floor of an old building. My wife, Emma, and our daughter, Lily, were thrilled. I wasn't sure what to think at first, but the place had its charm. The floors creaked underfoot, and the hallway was dark, even in the middle of the day. But still, we made it our home. The first few nights were peaceful. Emma and Lily settled in quickly, and the apartment felt warm, comforting, but something felt off. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, though. There was an eerie silence that lingered in the air, one that didn't quite belong in a place that should have been full of life. Sometimes, late at night, I'd wake up to the sound of something scraping against the walls, but when I checked, it was always empty. I tried not to let it bother me. It was probably just the old pipes or the wind. This building had been around for decades, after all. But then, Lily started to act strange. It started small, just little things that I could have brushed off if I wasn't already on edge. She'd sit in her room, playing with her dolls, whispering to them in a language I couldn't understand. At first, Emma laughed it off, thinking it was just her imagination running wild. But it wasn't the imagination of a 6-year-old. One evening, as I was getting ready for bed, I heard it, a faint giggle from the other room. I went to check, finding Lily standing in front of the mirror in her bedroom, staring at her reflection. "Sweetheart?" I called out gently. She didn't respond. "Lily?" Finally, she turned to look at me, her eyes wide, her face pale. "Daddy," she whispered, her voice trembling. "There's someone in the mirror." I froze. It wasn't like her to be scared of her own reflection, not like this. "What do you mean?" I asked, trying to sound calm. She pointed behind her to the mirror. I stared, my heart racing. There was nothing there. "I saw her," Lily said softly. She was standing right behind me, smiling. I laughed nervously, bending down to her level. "Sweetie, it's just your imagination. There's nothing there." But Lily shook her head, her eyes filling with tears. "I'm scared, Daddy." She doesn't go away. I tried to reassure her, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay there in the dark, listening to the silence of the apartment. But then, I heard it. Quiet footsteps. Soft, deliberate, pacing back and forth in the hallway outside our bedroom door. My heart leaped into my throat. I got up and crept into the hallway, my footsteps muffled by the carpet. I searched the apartment, checking every room, but it was empty. Nothing. The next few days were filled with strange occurrences. Emma thought I was overreacting, but I couldn't ignore the feeling that we weren't alone in that apartment. Sometimes, I'd come home from work to find things out of place. Things I was sure I had left in one spot were now somewhere else. I found the kitchen light on when nobody had been in there. I noticed scratches on the walls, thin, deep gouges, as though something had been clawing at them. One evening, Emma and I were sitting on the couch, watching TV, when we heard Lily's voice. It was coming from her room, but something was off. It wasn't the cheerful voice of our daughter. This was colder, raspier, as though it wasn't her at all. "Mommy," the voice said, but it didn't sound like Lily. It was almost mechanical. "Mommy, come play with me." Emma and I exchanged a glance, both of us unsettled. I told her to stay put, and I went to check on Lily. When I opened the door, I saw her sitting on the floor, playing with her dolls, just like any other night. But the dolls, they were arranged in a perfect circle, facing inward. It was unnatural, unsettling. "Lily?" I asked cautiously. "Are you okay?" She looked up at me, her eyes wide and vacant, as though she didn't recognize me. "She told me to play," Lily murmured. "She wants to play with me, too." I felt a chill crawl down my spine. "Who, sweetie?" "Who told you?" Lily didn't answer. She just continued to stare at me, with that strange empty look, as if she were in a trance. That night, Emma and I stayed up late, both of us too afraid to sleep. The atmosphere in the apartment had become thick, suffocating. We sat in the living room, waiting for something to happen, and then we heard it again, the whispering. Soft at first, barely audible, but it grew louder, like 100 voices murmuring at once, coming from every direction. I stood up, my heart pounding in my chest. "Do you hear that?" I asked Emma, my voice tight with fear. She nodded, her face pale. "It's coming from Lily's room." We rushed to her room, and when we opened the door, the temperature in the room had dropped. The air was freezing, almost painfully cold, and there, standing by the window, was Lily. She wasn't moving, just staring out into the dark night. "Lily?" I called out, but she didn't respond. Then, in the reflection of the window, I saw something that made my blood run cold. A figure, tall, thin, with hollow eyes and a smile that stretched too wide for its face. It was standing behind Lily, its long spindly arms reaching out toward her. I grabbed Lily and yanked her away from the window, my heart racing, but the figure didn't vanish. It stayed in the reflection, watching us. It was only then that I realized it wasn't just the mirror, it was the entire apartment. Something was here, something that had been watching us since the moment we stepped inside. "Get out," I whispered, my voice shaking. Emma grabbed Lily, and we ran out of the room, down the hallway, and into the stairwell. We didn't stop until we were outside, standing in the cold night air, trembling. I never went back to that apartment. We moved into a new place a few days later, leaving everything behind. But sometimes, when I close my eyes at night, I still hear the whispering. I still feel the eyes watching me from the shadows. And every so often, I'll catch a glimpse of something just out of the corner of my eye, a figure standing in a doorway, waiting. I don't know what we encountered in that apartment, but I'll never forget it. And I'll never forget the look in Lily's eyes when she said she wants to play with me too.